Let's start with Doom Eternal, a game that's just pure adrenaline. From the moment you start, it's like the game grabs you by the collar and throws you into this insane, demon-filled chaos. The pacing is so fast and relentless, it makes you feel like this unstoppable force. You're not just playing as the Doomslayer, you are the Doomslayer, and it's awesome. One thing I love about Doom Eternal is how it forces you to play aggressively. You can't just hide behind cover and pick off enemies from a distance like in other shooters. No way. You have to get in their faces, constantly moving, switching weapons, and using your chainsaw to keep your ammo up. It's this perfect mix of strategy and brutality. There's no time to breathe. And honestly, that's what makes it so much fun. Every fight feels like a frantic dance of destruction, and once you get the rhythm down, it's such a rush. The combat loop is where it really shines. You're always juggling resources, health, armor, ammo, and you get those by fighting. Need health? Glory kill a demon. Low on armor? Set enemies on fire with the flame belch. It's a constant back and forth, and it makes every encounter feel dynamic. You never just shoot your way through a room, you're managing the chaos, and that's what makes it so addicting. And the weapons, man. Each one feels so satisfying. The shotgun, the plasma rifle, the BFG. It's all there, and it's all beefed up to feel more powerful than ever. Doom Eternal is an absolute must-play. It's intense, it's challenging, and it's just pure, unfiltered fun. Next we have Mafia 2. This game hits differently. It's got this classic, almost cinematic feel to it, like you're stepping into an old mobster movie. From the moment it starts, you're drawn into this gritty 1940s and 50s world where the cars are big, the suits are sharp, and everything's just dripping with atmosphere. The setting of Empire Bay feels alive, like you can almost smell the exhaust from the cars and hear the hum of jazz coming out of a diner as you pass by. But what really gets me about Mafia 2 is the story. You're following Vito Scaletta, this guy who's just trying to make a life for himself after returning home from World War II. And you feel for the guy. He's not some untouchable, over-the-top hero. He's just a regular dude who gets sucked into this whole criminal underworld. And it's not even glamorous. Mafia 2 makes it pretty clear that this life comes with heavy consequences. The missions are top-notch too. One minute you're robbing a jewelry store. The next you're in this intense shootout, ducking behind cars and trading gunfire. It's got this old-school classic gangster vibe. One thing I love is how Mafia 2 doesn't overdo the open-world stuff. It's not like you're getting sidetracked with a million random activities. The game keeps its focus tight on the story, which I appreciate. It feels like every mission matters, and you're always pushing forward to see what happens next. Even though it's been years since it came out, Mafia 2 still holds up. If you're into mobster stories or just love a game that feels cinematic, Mafia 2 is definitely worth revisiting. Next we have Metal Gear Solid V: The Phantom Pain. It's one of those experiences that really makes you feel like you're in control of a tactical open-world espionage operation. From the moment you start as Big Boss, or Venom Snake, if you want to get technical, you know you're in for something special. The way the game blends stealth, action, and freedom of choice is just next level. Let's start with the open world. Unlike previous Metal Gear games, which were more linear, The Phantom Pain drops you into these massive living environments. You've got Afghanistan's rocky, mountainous terrain, and the jungles of Africa, each filled with enemy bases, patrols, and wild animals. The thing is, the world isn't just a backdrop. It reacts to how you play. You can approach missions any way you want, whether it's going in guns blazing or sneaking in without anyone ever knowing you were there. And the best part? If you get caught, the game doesn't punish you too harshly. You can adapt, think on your feet, and still pull off the mission. That freedom keeps the tension high and the experience fresh every time. The stealth mechanics? They're just so well done. You've got all these tools at your disposal. Decoys, tranquilizer guns, night vision goggles, and you can customize your loadout for every mission. One of my favorite things to do is use the cardboard box, classic Metal Gear, to sneak around or surprise enemies. It's so ridiculous, but somehow always works. And Mother Base is such a cool feature. You're constantly building it up, recruiting soldiers, developing new weapons, and sending your team on missions. Next we have It Takes Two. It's easily one of the most creative co-op experiences I've ever played. From the very start, you realize that it's not your typical platformer. It's all about teamwork. Whether you're playing with a friend, partner, or even someone you just met, The whole experience becomes this shared journey that's honestly so much fun. The level design is incredible. Every single level is packed with unique mechanics that are specific to that environment. 1 minute, you're in a garden where one player's watering plants while the other's chopping through obstacles. The next, you're in a clock tower, messing with time itself. It's never repetitive because each new area throws something different at you. The gameplay just keeps evolving. One of my favorite sections was when one of us could fly on this paper airplane while the other navigated obstacles on the ground. It's all about trust and coordination. What I also really appreciate is how the game balances difficulty. It's not too hard, but it does require you to think and communicate. There were moments where my co-op partner and I would be stuck for a minute, but it always felt rewarding when we figured it out together. You're constantly learning how to rely on each other's strengths, which is such a fun way to approach co-op. Honestly, what really stands out to me about It Takes Two is just how much fun it is. I mean, you're not just playing a game, you're sharing this experience with someone else, and you're both equally important to making it through the story. Whether you're laughing at the absurd situations or getting a little competitive with the mini-games sprinkled throughout, trust me, the mini-games are addictive. Next we have Wolfenstein: The New Order. It's an absolute blast of a game, and I mean that literally. It's one of those titles that grabs you from the very start with its intense action, gripping story, and just straight-up brutal combat. It's a reimagining of a classic series, but it manages to feel both modern and respectful to its roots. The game is set in an alternate history where the Nazis won World War II, and it's your job as BJ Blazkowicz to bring them down. It's got this perfect balance of being both over the top and really emotionally engaging. The gameplay, though, that's where Wolfenstein really shines. It's this perfect mix of old-school shooter mechanics with some modern twists. You've got dual-wielding guns, fast movement, and the ability to choose between stealth or going full Rambo in most situations. What's awesome is that the game gives you a ton of freedom in how you approach combat. You can sneak around, taking enemies out silently, or just run in, guns blazing, and leave a trail of destruction. Personally, I love switching between the two, depending on the situation. The pacing of the game is fantastic as well. You're constantly moving between different environments and situations. 1 minute, you're in a Nazi prison, trying to escape, and the next, you're on a mission to infiltrate a moon base. Yes, a moon base. The game really goes all out with its setting, and it's not afraid to get a little weird with the sci-fi elements. There's a ton of variety in the level design, and you never really know what the game's going to throw at you next. Whether you're in it for the action or the story, it delivers on both fronts. Next we have Watch Dogs Legion. This game really took the whole open-world hacking thing to another level. The first thing that hit me was the setting, London. And not just any version of London, but this near-future dystopian London where everything is under heavy surveillance, and the government is basically a dictatorship. The way they captured the city, though, it's spot on. From Big Ben to Camden Market, every corner of London feels alive, and it's just cool to explore this iconic city in a way you've never seen before. But the real hook for Legion? It's got to be that play-as-anyone system. Like, literally anyone you see walking down the street, you can recruit into your squad. I remember at first I thought, okay, but surely this is just a gimmick, right? Nope. You actually build a team of characters, and each one has their own backstory, abilities, and quirks. I had this old lady on my team, seriously, a grandma, and she was walking around, slow as anything, but she had some tech skills that were unbeatable. There's just something hilarious about seeing her take down an enemy in the most casual way possible. And that's what's fun about it. Everyone you recruit adds something different to your team, and it makes you think about how you approach missions. You could be rolling with a construction worker who can call in a cargo drone to fly over buildings, or a spy with a silenced pistol and a fancy sports car. And of course, Legion is all about that hacking life. You're controlling drones, hijacking cars, hacking cameras, all with a few button presses. It's just as slick as ever. Next we have The Witcher 3. It's one of those games that just sticks with you. I mean, where do you even start with a game like this? For me, it's the world, you know? Like when you're roaming through those dense forests or just riding Roach across a field at sunset. There's this vibe that's hard to describe. The world feels so alive, even if it's grim and full of monsters. And you know how in a lot of games, side quests are just filler? Not here. The Witcher 3's side quests feel just as important as the main story, if not sometimes more interesting. Like, you could be hunting down a werewolf 1 minute, And the next, you're getting involved in the political affairs of some random village. Every quest feels like it has its own little narrative arc. It's like playing through mini-stories, all packed into this huge world. One of my favorite things, though, is how the game handles monsters. It's not just about swinging your sword around. There's actual strategy involved. You read up on your target, learn its weaknesses, and prepare the right potions or oils before diving into battle. It really makes you feel like you're Geralt, this professional monster hunter who knows what he's doing. But it's not just about the scenery. The characters, man. You've got Ciri, Yennefer, Triss. They're so well written. Every time I made decisions in the game, I actually felt like they mattered. I mean, how often do you get that in games? Honestly, every time I play The Witcher 3, I catch something new. A bit of dialogue, a small detail in the environment. There's just so much packed into it. Next we have Dead Island 2. It's one of those games that after being in development for so long, you're just happy it finally exists. If you're into zombie games, this one is like a bloody sun-soaked vacation, where you can let loose and hack, slash, and smash your way through hordes of the undead. What's cool about it is that it doesn't take itself too seriously. The game knows exactly what it is, a fun, over-the-top zombie slasher set in sunny California. And sometimes that's exactly what you need. First off, the setting is great. Instead of a gloomy, post-apocalyptic wasteland, Dead Island 2 takes place in a colorful, almost absurdly beautiful version of Los Angeles. They call it Hell A, and the contrast between the bright, glamorous world of Hollywood and the grotesque, decaying zombies is just awesome. You're running through luxury mansions, beaches, and fancy neighborhoods, all while the city crumbles around you. It's like you're on a demented version of a sightseeing tour. The zombies themselves come in all shapes and sizes, and they're not pushovers. You've got your standard walkers, but there are also faster, more aggressive types, like runners and screamers who can call for reinforcements. Some are armored, others are on fire or covered in acid, and each type forces you to adjust your tactics. It keeps you on your toes and makes the combat feel fresh. You're constantly adapting and finding new ways to take them down, whether it's by using environmental traps, setting them on fire, or just going for headshots. Overall, Dead Island 2 is just a good time. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel, but it doesn't need to. Next, we have Baldur's Gate 3. If you're into RPGs or Dungeons and Dragons, this is basically a dream come true. The thing is, it's not just the story. It's the choices you make, the characters you meet, the dice rolls that can completely change how a situation unfolds. Every playthrough feels different, and I love that about it. First off, let's talk about the freedom this game gives you. You can literally do anything. Want to sneak past enemies instead of fighting them? Go for it. Want to convince a dragon to let you pass with just a bit of clever dialogue? Roll those dice. Or if you're feeling chaotic, you can just, blow stuff up with magic and hope for the best. That freedom makes every encounter feel fresh, and it's not just about combat. Your decisions can have lasting consequences on the story, on your companions, and even on the world itself. The story itself is wild. You start off with this mind flayer parasite in your brain, which immediately sets the stakes super high. And as you try to find a cure, you uncover all these other crazy plots and factions vying for control. It's dark, it's epic, and the world is full of so many cool little stories and side quests that it's easy to get lost in it all. The best part? You can shape the story in so many different ways, whether you want to be a hero, a villain, or something in between. The game doesn't force you down one path. It really feels like your journey. It's got that perfect blend of story, character development, and strategic combat, all wrapped up in this beautiful, sprawling world. Next we have Hitman 3. Now this is a game that just gets the whole stealth genre right. I love how it puts you in the shoes of Agent 47, and suddenly you feel like this ultimate, cool-headed assassin. What makes it special is the freedom it gives you to approach every mission how you want, like you're dropped into these huge, intricately designed sandboxes, and then it's up to you to figure out how you're going to take down your targets. Do you go all stealthy, blend into the crowd, and take your time? Or do you throw caution to the wind, cause chaos, and improvise? Either way, it's a blast. The level design in Hitman 3 is just genius. I'm still thinking about the Dubai mission, starting at the top of that skyscraper. Looking out over the city from a literal cloud level, it's breathtaking. And then there's the Dartmoor level, which is like something straight out of a detective novel. You can actually pose as a detective investigating a murder while planning a murder. It's just so creative, giving you this puzzle box of opportunities to play around with. And there's always that moment when you figure out a crazy way to eliminate your target that feels so satisfying, like, I can't believe I just pulled that off. Another thing I love is how replayable it is. You finish a mission, and then you start thinking, wait, what if I tried it this way? Or what if I used that secret passage I missed the first time? It's not about following some rigid plan. It's about adapting on the fly and making it work. Honestly, Hitman 3 is one of those games that I keep coming back to. It's smart, stylish, and just a ton of fun.